Which seat would be the least preferable for your black daughter to take? Your job is to keep her safe, black father. Be honest. You starting to understand where we're coming from? Plan accordingly. Imagine the parents' line of question. Wait a second, what happened? Wait, when did this happen? What was my daughter doing? Who was this man? This is the first time? It was the 14th time. Why was he not in prison?
Yeah.
What was his bail? It was nothing. Wait, he said he would go back? You guys knew this person was insane and violent and my daughter is dead? Why didn't... Oh, he's black. I guess there's nothing you can do.
Nothing we could do about it at all. And by the way, there are a lot of people out there right now saying that President Trump is eerily quiet on this as well. He's not. He's addressed it. We have the clip.
Oh, okay. Let's. Do we have the clip right now? Mm-hmm. All right, let's play it.
I just give my love and hope to the family of the young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic. Just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible. But just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
100% right. And look, our friend, Mr. Guns and Gear, he says this a lot, plan accordingly. Mm-hmm. Plan accordingly with a lot of different situations that you put out there. Plan accordingly. Ladies,
and
if you're
save
on this
the
train,
taxpayer money.
Plan accordingly. Yeah, exactly. If you're carrying, but ladies, if you're on a train, plan accordingly.
Well, you know what,
Don't
though?
sit where she sat. It's not her
no,
fault.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna go. I don't want to. I'm not saying that he is, but
no.
That idea is a cop out. Let's be honest here. Hey, bring up that clip. Bring up the clip again of Zarutska. Getting on the train.
And I'm going to finish my thought because I wanted to make sure I said it the way I wanted to.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, I can do it after this.
Okay. Well, I'm probably going to go a different direction, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. My racist words in your mouth.
Until they allow you to carry everywhere, until these judges don't just let people back out that are schizophrenic and say that they can't stand trial, until this is all fixed, plan accordingly. Because the government is not helping us right now with anything that they're doing. The DAs aren't helping us. The judges aren't helping us. Unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't seem to be helping us in a lot of these cases. Plan accordingly.
Yeah. And I'll tell you
you're not going to get help.
I'll tell you what that is. So, we applied this to mass shootings, right? To school shootings. You should not be putting your kids in public school, right? 94% of mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. Don't put your children in one of the most vulnerable gun-free zones for 8 hours a day. There's a start. If you private school is better. Private school with security is better. Yeah. Homeschooling is best. But there are a couple of steps. If you're an individual, you're an adult here in the United States, and you don't want to be a victim of this, well, first off, don't live in a major urban area if you can avoid it. Of course, avoid public transit in an urban area. And the left wants all of you on mass transit. That's why Mamdani wants more of it and wants it to be free. Of course you shouldn't. In particular, after dark. But I'll take it another step further. Let's play the portion of the clip where she actually gets on that train.
Please stand clear.
No.
I have it. I have it.
Yeah.
The one where she's walking in.
Yeah, the one where she's walking in.
Okay. Noodle's got it.
All right, let's play this. All right. So it looks like it's nighttime, so pause. Okay? Urban area. Don't live there if you can avoid it. Public transit. Don't take it if you can avoid it. Nighttime. That's where you shouldn't be taking it, in particular if you can avoid it. And please avoid doing so alone. Now, just to be clear, I'm not giving you any advice that I have not practiced myself. When I had to live in New York City, I did everything I could to get out of there as quickly as possible, and I wouldn't be traveling on the subway alone at night. And then I would be very, very aware of my surroundings if I happen to find myself in those single-digit instances. Keep playing. Okay, pause. Choosing a seat. Here's the cold water. I wouldn't sit with a blind spot to a man on public transit at night who is part of a demographic and seemingly emulating a culture in bright red where they make up 13% of the population but over half of the violent crime. I would profile him. And if you're a woman, you don't have the luxury of not. Now, none of this is to say that this is her fault. It's the fault of anyone other than the system and the judge and the culture that we have. But I do want to address the culture. I do want to address that little voice in the back of your head where, you know what I'm talking about. You get on that subway, you get on that train at night, and you go, oh, I don't want to move to a seat where someone might think that I'm racist and think that I didn't pick this seat. Who cares? Go to where you think is statistically safest, because you've already put yourself, unfortunately, in a risk pool that is much more dangerous than, at that moment in time, someone living in a suburban or rural area driving their own car. The idea of offending someone has nothing to do with it. And if there's no other seat available, which obviously isn't the case here, you should have eyes on that person the entire time. Would it have stopped
always.
it? No. I'm just going to tell you, we need to change this culture. We need to change the culture of poor victim when it's a perpetrator, and we need to change the culture of I don't want to offend anyone when it's about maintaining your life. Am I saying that if it was a white woman or Hispanic woman sitting there with a baby in her arms instead of a young black male that she would be less likely to commit a violent crime against you? Abso-fucking-lutely. So plan accordingly. Let's be real about what that means. Let's be real about what that means. A white woman who's recently moved to this country by herself on public transit at night, sitting in front of a large, young, black male in her blind spot, that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen, and we shouldn't be a culture that wants people to be so colorblind and risk blind that they don't take it into account immediately when they find themselves in that situation. And black men watching, do you get it? Does that offend you? Let me ask you this, black men. If it was your daughter, would you give her the same advice? If it was your daughter, and you could present this as a choose your own path, and if it was your daughter and she had to come home from her job late at night on a subway or on a train, on a bus, and there are a few seats open, somewhere next to a white guy in a polo and khakis, an older woman, a Hispanic couple, and a lone black male in a hoodie with his hood over his dreads. Which seat would be the least preferable for your black daughter to take? Your job is to keep her safe, black father. Be honest. You starting to understand where we're coming from? Plan accordingly.
Yep. It sucks, but listen, I mean, we want to prevent future cases like this. And look, I get she's Ukrainian. She's probably not looking at the same, this country in the same lens that we are necessarily, but that's why we're saying this.
Yeah.
It's not victim blaming or shaming in any way, shape, or form. We're just saying, hey, in these situations, get away.
What's she supposed to think? She watches U.S. News. She watches World News, which is CNN. She watches NBC. She watches, mainstream media. It's where she gets her news.
Yeah.
They say there's nothing wrong. In D.C. there is.
Down, guys.
In the White House there is.
Crime's going down.
I know. I'm sitting in the hot seat. Let me ask you. I know that plenty of you have daughters here and there. What would you tell your daughter? Where should she sit?
Oh, it's easy. Like if you
would that be the worst seat in the house? Would you tell her that if you had to teach her?
I would say. Listen. Let me make this very easy for people who are maybe a little squeamish on this topic right now. I would not sit where she sat. I'm 6'4", 250 pounds. I can handle myself.
Yeah, you'd sit on his lap.
I would not sit. Yeah, I wouldn't sit there. So here's why. There's two good options when she goes in there. One is sitting with any other person in that car, basically.
Standing by the door.
The other one is there's a row of seats that faces the middle of the train. It's not the back, front thing. It faces the middle that were just to her right that she could have sat in as well. Again, not victim blaming, just saying. That's where I would have sat or I would have stood up. And I would never have turned my back on that person on that train. Nope. Ever. And if I got onto a train and didn't feel safe, I would have felt like no less of a man going, not this car, not this time at night. I'll walk.
Yep.
I'll do something different. Don't ever be afraid of any of that. And I certainly would have not had earbuds in and been on my phone and senses completely taken up by a screen. That was everybody in that car, basically. That's a very dangerous, at night, in those situations, just giving you tips. That's a very dangerous thing to do. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that you can see what's going on in the car, especially if you're among the most vulnerable people, and that is women by themselves. It's just too dangerous. I'm sorry. We'll do a better job in the future, but until we do, it's just too dangerous.
Yeah.
And
As the guy who has the oldest daughter in the room, the one who's closest to this kind of situation, I personally would not want her riding public transportation at all.
Nope. I
At
agree.
all. Day, night,
Completely agree.
black passenger, white passenger, Asian passenger, homeless passenger. I don't care. There's a guy on every bus. There's a guy on every train. If you've been on one, holy shit.
Yeah.
They had to change the name of there's one in Seattle that they changed the name of because it was the South Lake Union Transit.
They changed it to the jerk off on your jacket express.
No. It was called South Lake Union Transit.
Oh,
Slut.
nice.
And so it said slut on the side of the little bus there in the trains. But no, if it were me, if that's me, right now I'm doing fine. My daughter's probably going to have a car when she's 16, 17.
Right.
If I'm not doing so fine at that time, I work a second job. My wife works another job. She's going to have a car. She's going to have a mode of transportation. She's going to have, a beater, $500, $1,000 beater, something she can go home in by herself. I'm not taking the risk of public transit.
Yep, and
Never. I'm going to, I teach my daughter lots of things. We went to the range. You see, I teach her defense, and she knows how to take care of herself. She knows how to be aware. The headphones thing is crazy. It's crazy to have two headphones working in both ears when you're in public. But yeah, I would say public transit is crazy.
I agree with you, and that's what I have those. Actually, we gave them out as a Christmas party. Those Bose where it clips around your ear, so it's like having a speaker near your ear. But
there's also
it's completely open.
They have the headphones. I have a pair of Beats that have the ambient, kind of like how EarPro for shooting is.
Yeah.
Where you can hear your music, but you can also hear the flight attendant go, "Would you like to have some Coca-Cola with
Right.
your fucking
Yeah,
depression?"
exactly.
And you're like, "Yeah, all right." But yeah, if it's first and foremost no public transit, transit at all, and the headphone thing is a real issue.
Headphones, being aware. First off, I mean, when I sit at a restaurant, period, I never sit at a place where my back is just open to the door. And as having a higher profile, but obviously I try and be somewhere a little bit private, but you always should make sure that you can face the exits, that you can see people coming in, and certainly on a bus. In other words, you don't have control over where you sit at a restaurant. You can choose where you sit at the table, but on a bus, you can either sit somewhere where no one is behind you, or you can sit right, like you said, facing the middle of the bus. These line up sideways.
At least I got a fighting chance on seeing somebody coming.
And you got to be armed with something. I mean, that lady, nothing she could have done.
No, of course.
If she was armed, nothing she could have done. That guy just.
Well, what she could have done, nothing in that moment. What she could, if she found herself there, what would have been, and we used to teach this, right? Not just stranger danger. She could have been sitting, facing the rest of the bus, using the buddy system, where both of them have guns. But we can't teach that because that's scary and that might offend some people. That would give at least one of them a fighting chance. In other words, there are some things, but we don't. How do you teach kids stranger danger? And I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but yeah, Josh was there with his daughter, and even his young boy, he was, he had him using my lever action rifle, and Josh was basically shooting with his hands, but getting him familiar with it. And I'm watching that going, that's what this used to be, teaching people how to be responsible and preparing for these scenarios. Also, I know what people are going to say. You're far more likely to die in a car crash than being mugged, or shut up.
Who cares?
That's like when people say you're more likely to be struck by lightning than be bitten by a shark. Okay, I understand that because I spend 99.99999% of my time on fucking land. But when I go into the shark's house, am I more likely to be bitten? In other words, if I spent 50% of my life on land and 50% in the water, you and I both know that I'd be more likely to be bitten by something that lives in the water than struck by lightning on land. The same thing here. Sure, I'm more likely to die of a car accident than be mugged, but does that likelihood go up if I'm by myself after dark on public transit? Of course it does.
You put on your headlights at night. You do things to keep yourself safe, like put on a seatbelt. That's all we're saying is do those things to keep yourself safer.
Her situation is different, though. She did come from Ukraine. She's coming from a different environment, different country, a different culture.
She's probably never seen a black person before.
That's what the point I was trying to make earlier was she's watched our mainstream media.
Yeah.
That's her idea of what Americans are based on what she has been told through the mainstream media her whole life.
Let me ask you this.
So she has no idea what she's expecting. She has no idea to be cautious of that. Other people on the train knew that. There's no one in front of that guy.
Right.
There's a reason why there was no one in front of that guy.
Right. Let me ask you this. Here's a hypothetical. The judge, what do I have? It's Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes. Okay, let's say there's an alternative universe.
I'm not giving her judgeship based on those eyes.
No, exactly. But let's say there's an alternative universe where Zarutska gets on that train. Okay? Looks, sees that man, DeCarlos Brown, Jr. Looks at him and knowingly, very obviously, chooses another seat. And DeCarlos Brown Jr. goes, "What? You don't want to sit? You don't want to sit in front of me?" And she says, "That's right." He says, "Why not? Because I'm black?" And she says, "Yes." And it becomes an incident. And it gets taken before a judge. And he goes, "She went to another seat and said it was because I was black." And I said, "Is it because I'm black?" And she said, "What did you say?" And she said, "Well, I said, yes, because you are more likely to commit crime and I don't want to be hurt, so I decided to sit somewhere else." You want to bet that judge would give her a talking to about prejudice and discrimination? Honestly, in your heart of hearts. If she just said, "Yes," he said, "Why are you sitting there?" And I said, "Because you are a black man and I don't want to be hurt. It is late at night and I want to be safe, so I'm going to sit here where I can see him. Because he is dressed in red with hoodie and has dreadlocks. And they are more likely to commit crime." Do you think that judge would go, "Oh, well, I think you need to go to sensitivity training to learn that all people are different"? Be honest. What do you think the judge would do? Because it's the same judge who let this guy out on an IOU.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to address. Let's be honest about this. And you know what? You know who should not be offended by this at all? Who won't be? Law-abiding black male Americans.
Yeah.
You know why? You can go watch Black and White on the Great, where I sat down at a barber shop, and every single one of them said, "Yeah, I get it." One guy said, "I'm more concerned," right? Like, why do you think it is that black people are more scared when we find ourselves on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, right? Like, I know white people, but we feel that way too. They said that.
We have our own things too that we are also afraid of.
Right.
You know, skinny white guy, muscle shirt, lesions all over his skin.
Yeah.
Hair,
of course.
sunken cheeks.
Is that an AIDS?
The guy might stab you.
That's
he might
meth.
be.
No,
yeah,
meth.
he might be tweaking right now. He might just slam your head against the window because he thinks that you're a bull.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes he's right. Now, there's an example of this, and this made the news this morning. There was a shooting in Israel. I don't remember what city, but I thought it was somewhere outside of Jerusalem, but I could be wrong. But it was in Israel. And I think 5 or 6 people were killed, several severely injured. But
Thanks for bringing the mood up.
No. Listen, the part of this that I think what we're saying is what we want to happen is that a guy that I believe had got his concealed carry permit or training less than a year ago was actually first to be able to respond and help take down some of the shooters.
Great.
I think there were a couple of shooters. I think you could also see some of the other security forces come behind him and him re-engage. Like, he ran towards it as everybody's running away. You can see him on the video very clearly doing it. Engages, struggles with one, retreats again. Some of the other people come to help, and he goes back in again. That's a hero. That's exactly the kind of thing that we want, because they're standing on a bus. Bang, 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 bang. They've got people trapped. Bang, bang, bang. If he doesn't show up to start at least putting up some of a fight, how many more people die? How many more people seriously injured?
Do we have the video?
A hero. Yeah, there is video out there of this.
Okay, let's see if we can find it. And I'll tell you this too. Like, the left wants you to be so afraid that you don't even take into your own what it is that you can control, right? They want you to avoid, for example, owning a firearm. Their approach is, you're more likely to have it used against you. Do you have children? How would you feel if it's like, yeah, but I can control that. And they want to tell you that, by the way, but trust the system until we defund the police. Like, let me give you an example. People out there are actually afraid that if you own a firearm and you have children in the house, then, oh my gosh, it's now a death sentence. Let me tell you how you can control it. Of course I have children in the house. My firearms are under lock and key. I have biometric safes. I have different passcode safes. But you know what else? I have spoken with them about firearms. They have held my unloaded firearms, and I have told them how they work. And I have told them what they do if they see a firearm. And I have told them at what age they will be taken with dad to go use a firearm. And you know what else I've done to just really, really make sure is place an unloaded firearm on a counter while I am there to see if they do exactly what it is they've been taught to do, and they do, after which point it gets loaded and placed back in a biometric safe. I can control those things. If I were to just go, kids, I can't have the tool that would protect them. Now, of course, you'll have some morons who leave a loaded gun next to the toothbrush, but you don't have to do that. It's really easy for you to take basic safety measures. Here's another one. Don't get on mass public transit at night and sit in front of a black man who looks like he's a member of the Bloods. You can control those things. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.